Hello. From stages just like this one, a craft is practiced, which is universally regarded as the most difficult, frightening, exhausting, unpredictable, yet ultimately rewarding art form known to man. The art form is stand-up comedy, and the men and women who perform it are among the most gifted, creative, and inventive artists on earth. Tonight, we're coming to you from one of the hottest comedy clubs in the country, Lotso Yucks, here in Midtown Manhattan. On this program, you're going to meet the hippest and the hottest of the young comedians who perform here. Hopefully, we'll find out just what it is that makes these mirth givers tick. But more importantly, you'll have a chance to see them execute the exhilarating, hilarious, touching, spirit-moving cornucopia of emotions that is stand-up comedy.
Plus, I went to Catholic school. Or as we used to call it, 8 years of hell. And plus at Catholic school, you don't have teachers. You have penguins.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, you know, I didn't have what you would call a formal education. I went to Catholic school. Hades on earth, as we called it, ladies and gentlemen. And if that isn't bad enough, you're taught by what look like birds that you would see on National Geographic special.
Anyway, to look at me today, you'd probably never dream that I went to Catholic school. I like to think that I've spent my time in purgatory. Did you ever try to learn anything from women who look like birds?
Speaking of religion, I'm Jewish. But most of my friends aren't. Which means they had to go to Catholic school. Why would a place whose main goal is to keep you out of hell put you in hell for 8 years? You know what I don't understand? How a penguin gets a teaching certificate.
Funny stuff indeed. But of all the hip, hot young comedians at Lotso Yucks, the hippest and the hottest is unquestionably Nick Van Daz. The Times says Nick Van Daz combines an irreverent outlook on life with extremely educated and refined sensibilities, making for a unique style of comedy, unquote. Anyone who's seen him perform would certainly agree. Nick Van Daz is one of a kind.
Plus, let me tell you this. Roman Catholicism is responsible for establishing a great number of our present-day institutions. Not the least of which is a place I've attended, a place known as Catholic school. The original inspiration for Dante's Inferno. Plus at Catholic school, you know what you're taught by? Flightless aquatic birds from the southern hemisphere.
Nick, were you always funny?
Sure, always.
So in other words, you were the typical class clown in school, the wise guy, sixth grader with the big mouth.
I was always a wise guy, but typical, no. I was never typical. I was unique. I did things that I'm sure no other sixth grader would ever dream of doing.
Could you give us an example?
Jesus, there's so many. Yeah, eraser fights. I would start these huge eraser fights. You know, it's supposed to be like cleaning erasers, but I'd instigate a fight, and before you knew it, everybody was just covered in chalk. and then I would try to blame it on somebody else to get out of detention. Yeah, I was always ahead of my time.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
Do you rely on these past childhood experiences for your comedy material?
Yeah, sure, everybody does, but you know, you alter it, you change it a little bit. You have to know how to make it acceptable to a mass audience. That's part of the genius, I think, of being a stand-up comedian.
And then, the girl with the big gazongas was just covered in chalk. And so me, Mr. Altar Boy, I tried to blame it on somebody else to get out of detention. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So your childhood is responsible for part of your humor, your outlook. But what about what the Times called your extremely educated and refined sensibilities? How did they evolve?
Yeah, well, I'm highly intelligent. Most stand-ups are highly intelligent. I read newspapers, magazines, 3 or 4 books a year. You know, you have to, just to keep up with events.
Okay, but my point is, if all stand-ups are intelligent, why are you, Nick Van Daz, singled out? Why are you special?
Well, I'll give you an example. The Iran-Contra thing, everybody was doing bits on it, everybody was making statements, but I didn't pull any punches, I didn't screw around, I said what had to be said. And that is the difference between a good stand-up and a great one. A good one will talk about the issues, but a great one will go right to the bone, right to the bone.
Now, just to change the subject a little bit, this Iran-Contra thing, have you been reading about this Iran thing? I'll tell you, whatever happens, whatever that committee finds out, none of it's going to surprise me. And you know why? President Reagan has a neck like a turkey. It's true! Take a look sometime. Thank you. Thank you.
Along with childhood remembrances and outlook, one of the major reservoirs of comic energy can be found at the lounge in the back of the club, where the stand-ups go to unwind between and after shows. Here, sometimes till dawn, finely tuned intellects engage in a battle of wit not seen since the heyday of the Algonquin Club. So, this is the place. This is where I suppose a lot of routines, a lot of bits get worked out.
Oh, this heap important place.
You know, I've been meaning to ask something for a while. How do you all react when someone tries out a bad piece of material?
Now, we're not in the clothing business.
That's good. Material clothing business.
Seriously, to answer your question, none of us do bad material. If something doesn't work, and I hate to sound cocky, but if something doesn't work, it's the audience's fault.
Hey, wait a minute. Have you ever seen any one of us do anything that hasn't gotten a laugh?
Well, no.
I didn't think so.
Where do I sign up for the open mic night?
Fear. How big a part does fear play before you go out there on stage, before you get that first big laugh to sort of relieve the tension? I imagine it must be terrifying.
No, not for me. And I'll tell you why. When I go out on stage, I'm ready. You know what I mean? I'm like a finely tuned machine. It's, here I come, folks, get ready to laugh.
Dogs. Dogs. Dogs, dogs, dogs. Dogs are so considerate. Do you know what my dog got me for my birthday? A pile of feces.
And the great thing about me, well, about all the really great comedians, is that every time I go out on stage, I get better. You know what I mean? I keep refining, keep tinkering with perfection, if you will.
No, but I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. Dogs are so considerate, aren't they? You know what my dog got me for my last birthday? Poop.
You know, you all sit around here doing some very funny routines, cracking each other up, doing some very funny jokes. Aren't you ever worried about somebody stealing jokes?
What, you mean from each other?
Yes. No, I'm not worried because it's...
He's not worried because he never gets any laughs. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
But we do. We trust each other.
Someone asked me if I was worried about people stealing my jokes. I said, of course not. I never get any laughs.
Hecklers. I guess the main problem every comic faces. How do you deal with them?
Well, you know, we're all individuals, so we all have our own ways of dealing with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, have you ever, I don't know if you guys have ever really thought about your nose. There's something about a nose that really... Hey, shut up, you idiot!
I was looking at my feet the other day, and I noticed that, Oh, shut up, you moron!
No, I have. I really have. I've given it a lot of thought. Do you know why you have kneecaps on the outside of the... Oh, shut up, you imbecile!
I think the reason I only have 2 ears is because...
Shut up, brainless!
I was talking to the other comics.
Artists. We're artists.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was talking to the other artists about hecklers, how to deal with them.
Yeah.
I imagine it must be very frustrating. Do you deal with hecklers any differently than the majority of comedians, artists?
Well, I don't want to put down fellow performers, right? But I think they let these people get away with far too much and they let them off far too easy. Because a heckler, in my view, is no different than a Nazi or a mass murderer or a terrorist. He's there for one reason, okay? He's there to deny people the opportunity to hear what I have to say. So in a situation like that, I really show no mercy.
But. If you stop to consider the human anatomy, you're gonna... Oh, shut up, Mr. Potato Head. Take a look at this guy. The guy's got a head like a potato. How's it going there, Potato Head? Yo, Spudbrain, you bring the family along. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.